Hey everybody, it's Fist-25 here, and we are at episode 3 of the Star Citizen Weapons Guide that I am really starting to enjoy doing here. And this episode is going to be covering scatterguns, gimbals, missile racks, and the size 2 guns, kind of bespoke guns, but you can change them on the Aegis Vanguard series. Super looking forward to the next one because this one's kind of a little bit boring, but it's part of the weapon stuff, and I think some people are, maybe especially new people, for Invictus, they might not understand how gimbals work or how missile racks would necessarily work with the weird size numbers and how Vanguards would work and stuff. So I just wanted to make sure we cover that, and it is part of the weapon systems in Star Citizen. So I don't typically use scatterguns, but I use them quite a bit here for this video, just in testing. And so I have some thoughts and opinions at the end. And my own recommendations, and so just basically a little bit of research that I did to kind of expand upon the scatterguns, gimbals, missile racks, and Vanguard size 2 guns. So without further ado, let's roll the intro and get on with the show. All right, so thanks for sticking through the intro there. Let's move on to the next slide. So we're going to start off with size 1 laser scatterguns. There is only really one manufacturer of laser scatterguns, and that is the infamous Hurston Dynamics. They make the Dominance line of scatterguns. Now, keep in mind, scatterguns for both ballistic and plasma and distortion and laser, they only go up to size 3. So we do not have a ton of guns to review here. But that being said, the Dominance 1 laser scattergun, thanks to the integration of Hurston Dynamics laser cascade technology, the Dominance 1 scattergun is able to deliver more damage the closer the size one weapon operates to its maximum safe thermal capacity. So what are we looking at here as far as the stat block on this gun? By the way, it costs 7,100 alpha UBC over, and you can only buy it on planet Hurston at Loreville, over by the Hurston Dynamics area where the big gold statues are. So for a size 1 gun, it does a surprisingly high DPS, right? It's one of the highest DPSs in the game. Especially for a size 1 gun. So 420 DPS, and it does a whopping 252 alpha damage. That's a lot. That means per shot, 252 damage. It has a fairly okay, but mostly slow fire rate of 100 rounds per minute. I'm not going to talk about overclocking a scattergun, so we're not going to worry about that. The range is, It's a decent range, I guess, for a size 1 gun. It's 1,286 meters, and the speed is just over 1,000 meters a second. That's not bad. That's on par with other size 1 weapons. But here's the difference here. Really, this laser scattergun, it's a laser shotgun. It's going to shoot 6 pellets per shot, just like a shotgun would. And you got to imagine it like a shotgun. The closer you are, the more pellets are going to hit your target. The more pellets you shoot, the more damage it'll do. If you actually hit with all 6 pellets, you're going to do 252 alpha damage per shot, if that makes sense. If you're further away, the benefit of the scattergun is you might hit with 1 pellet versus all 6, and at least you'll do some damage. Whereas if you miss with a cannon and you miss with a repeater, you'll do no damage. So, there's drawbacks and there's advantages with every type of configuration. The initial spread is 0.45. The spread min-max, 4 to 8. I don't necessarily know what those mean. I guess it's just kind of talking about maybe how far away in meters they would go, the actual spread, or maybe it's some kind of a multiplier. What I can tell you is the power to EM is really small. Like, this is, for a laser weapon, this is a really good stealth weapon. Its temperature to IR is a little high, but that's because it's a laser and it gets hot. But its EM signature is very low, so that would be very good for a size 1 stealth. I'm not worried about the weapon's health. They're going to blow my ship up before the weapon, probably. Yeah, so that is the Dominance 1 laser scattergun. Now let's move on to the Dominance 2. The harder the fight, the harder the Dominance 2 scattergun works. As its thermal levels increase, the size 2 weapon from Hurston is able to utilize cascade technology to turn that thermal potential into an even deadlier close quarters attack. Now, I get that repeaters with Hurston actually do better the warmer they get. From what Urkel.games is showing us, that is maybe not in the game yet, where they get better with heat. It's just, there's no temperature variant. Usually for Hurston weapons, they have some kind of a temperature thing. When they get to 700 degrees, it'll show a different type of DPS, but it does. So this is a size 2 scattergun. Now look at this DPS, 623, alpha damage 440, significantly more than the size 1. I mean, much bigger difference between a size 2 to size 1 than any other weapon. But it has a lower fire rate, significantly lower. Went from 100 to 85. That's quite a bit when you consider, that's 15%. That's a lot slower. The range and the speed are just about the same, but now it has 8 pellets per shot instead of 6. So that's an advantage. The spread and the min-max are the same. And its power to EM is the same, and its temperature to IR is just a little bit higher. So I would say still technically a pretty decent stealth weapon, especially if you can suppress your IR. So, okay, laser scattergun, Lorville, you can buy it for $98.50. The size 3 laser scattergun, the Dominance 3 scattergun from Hurston, showcases the weapon's cascade technology. Yeah, we talked about that in the last one. Now let's look at the DPS here. It's 793 and it's alpha 680. That's a lot. So this is the highest level that the laser scatterguns go to. Its fire rate is even lower at 70. So we went from 100 to 85 to 70. So now we're 30% slower than the size 1. But we're doing more damage per shot, which means you technically need to be more accurate with these size 3s. However, do you? Because there's now 10 pellets per shot. So now you're getting more pellets and the spread is the same. So maybe that's why the damage is higher, because you're getting more pellets. Either way, the range and the speed are still the same. And the temperature and IR went up a little, almost 1. So now you're starting to get on that borderline of is it stealthy, is it not? It is a laser, it does get hot. And this guy sells in Lorville for 17,950 alpha UEC. Okay, let's move on to the next gun, which is the Apocalypse Arms Ballistic Scattergun. Now, these ones actually have names. So the size 1 here for the Ballistic is called the Havoc. Sow dread across the battlefield with the Havoc from Apocalypse Arms. This size 1 scattergun deals massive damage at close range, making it the perfect weapon for finishing a fight. So let's look at size 1 here. Its DPS is 620. That's actually higher than the laser, right? For size 1. Its alpha is 310. That's higher than the laser as well. Now, what's the disadvantage of the Ballistic? You run out of ammunition. And believe me, they actually run out of ammunition pretty quick. The fire rate is better than the laser at 120 RPM. That's 20% faster than the size 1 laser. So it does more damage, does more alpha damage, and has a higher fire rate. It has a better range at 1508 instead of 1200, and the speed is roughly the same at about 1,000 meters a second. The downside, of course, the ammo count. It has 160 shots of ammunition, and it shoots 10 pellets per shot. So automatically at size 1, you're shooting 10 pellets. The initial spread is 0.4, and the min max is 5 to 7. Again, I think that's just how far away, when you shoot, how far away your spread will actually go. Power to EM is even lower because it's ballistic, right? So it's 0.36, and its IR temp is really good at 3.1. So probably one of the most stealthiest size 1 weapons in the game, period. You can buy this weapon at a multitude of places: Port Olisar, per L4, Crew L5, all for roughly 6,800 Alpha UDC. So it's on fairly on the cheap too. So the size 1 ballistic. Let's look at the size 2 here. We can see this guy 900 DPS for a size 2. And that's only if you actually get all the pellets on target. Alpha's 540 damage, fire rate is 100 RPM. So, okay, again, we're going slower on our fire rate, but it's still pretty good at 100. Our alpha damage and our DPS is going up. Of course, so are our pellets. Now we're shooting 12 pellets, same ammo count of 160, pretty much the same range here. Our spread is roughly the same. And now we have a little bit higher temperature and EM, but still very, very stealthy. And this price has gone up to 10,700-ish. You can buy it at PO or Grim Hex. This one, the size 2, is called the Hellion from Apocalypse Arms. It saturates the target with ballistic ammo in close quarters. The gun's smart ammo functionality allows it to switch between standard and specialty rounds. I don't think that exists right now. But yeah, I've never seen the specialty rounds for the Hellion. So let's move on to the size 3. Which by Apocalypse Arms is called the Predator Ballistic Scattergun. The Predator Scattergun preys upon nearby opponents with an overwhelming barrage of ballistic ammo. The size 3 version of Apocalypse Arms Fear Scattergun trades effective range for a wide spread. So this does have a wider spread now. The range is pretty much the same, but the spread is now 5 to 9.5. So maybe you do actually hit with more pellets now that it's shooting out 2 more pellets at 14 versus 12 and then versus 10 at the size 1. But look at the DPS here, 12, 13. If you can manage to land all of your shots on target, that's super high. That's one of the highest for size 3, period. I think it is the highest. Alpha damage 910. Fire rate goes down to 80. So significantly slower. 20% slower for each size for a ballistic scattergun as far as fire rate goes. And the ammo count's the same at 160. The power to EM still really, really good at 0.66, and the temperature to IR still really good at 5.7. So I'd say this is still a fairly stealthy weapon for size 3. You can only buy this gun at Area 18 Dumpers Depot for about 19,000 UDC. So let's move on to the Distortion Scatterguns. These ones are by Preacher Armaments. So there's a weird thing with distortions. I believe you can only buy this one gun. There might be another one. I think there's also a size 5, but there were supposed to be like size 1s and 2s and 3s. There's different ones that are out there in lore. But you can't get them. So I guess that it just doesn't exist yet. But this guy, this one is a size 4 up here. It is a Preacher Armaments Salvation Distortion Scattergun. Disable an enemy ship without damaging it with the Salvation Scattergun from Preacher Armaments. With its wide spread and low rate of fire, this size 4 scattergun is most potent at close range. So this guy has a scattergun DPS and alpha damage is always correct, because obviously it's not going to do actual damage to the ship. It's not going to blow up a ship. Its DPS at 2,500 and alpha damage is just it's like a misnomer. That's not what it does. The fire rate is really low, of course, but it is a size 4, so it does monumental damage to shields. it will take down shields like nobody's business. This thing is a monster for taking down shields if you can get all 14 pellets on target. So, you know, versus a repeater or a cannon, you have to be, I hate to say it, but you have to be pretty close. Its range is 1528, speed is 1273, so very, very quick as well. And a good, you know, not that great of a range for size 4, but okay. It's on par with the other type of guns. Its spread initial is 0.4, spread min max 5 to 10, so a little bit more than the other guns. Its power to EM and temperature to IR are very high. So you're not going to be stealthy with this thing at all. So Distortion Scattergun, you're not using stealth. You can buy this guy at Area 18, New Babbage, or Grim Hex for roughly 10,700 or 11,700 UEC. Yeah, I just didn't have very good luck with this. I think if you had some ships with this gun and you were going up against like a Hammerhead or some other ships like that, and you had, you know, you were looking to board it like as a pirate and take it over, or, you know, something like that, where you didn't want to destroy the ship, or you wanted to get the shields down real quick so that one of your friends could come in and have more luck shooting down the ship, this would be a weapon for that. But like on like a Vanguard or something, I would not give up my big singular gun turret for a scattergun. Okay, so here's the size 5. This is the only other distortion scattergun that you can get in the game right now. The Absolution distortion scattergun. Deliver high distortion damage in close quarters with the Preacher Armaments Absolution Scattergun. The size 5 weapon is an ideal loadout option for those interested in capturing or boarding their target. I wish it actually not only just took shields down, but it disabled the ship. But currently it does not. We don't have that type of gameplay yet. Look at this massive amount of damage. It's 3520 DPS for the size 5. 2640 alpha damage. Again, misnomers, not real. Still a pretty decent fire rate for a size 5 gun. Pretty much the same range and speed as the size 4 distortion scattergun. This time it's 15 pellets per shot. The initial spread is the same, but the min-max for the spread is higher. And again, its power to EM and temperature are very high. Not going to be stealthy with this gun. You can buy it at Area 18 or HERL 3 for roughly 19,950 alpha UEC. Again, I just haven't. Maybe it's just not my gameplay style. I don't go after huge ships in like a heavy fighter. But I guess if you really wanted to take down that 890 jump and board it, this might be the way to do it once that type of gameplay loop is in the game. Okay, now let's go on to basically the last scattergun that you can get in the game. This one's different. This is the M&M Reese Company Pyro Burst Plasma Scattergun, which sounds super awesome, right? It is a size 3, so keep that in mind. And in Urkel.games, in the DPS calculator, it is under the laser scattergun category because they don't have a plasma category. Your ship will spread havoc with A&R's Pyroburst Plasma Shotgun, called a shotgun. Effective in close quarters, the Pyroburst sprays self-detonating plasma projectiles, sacrificing pinpoint accuracy for area saturation. I'm not sure I agree with that. One, I haven't seen self-detonating anything. It works for me. It works just like any other scattergun. And area saturation, I mean, it's a shotgun, right? So its spread min max is about the same as the other ones. So I'm not sure where that came from. Maybe this needs some more tweaking. It does 560 DPS, alpha damage 560. So at least those are on par. Really low fire rate at 60. So the lowest fire rate out of all the scatterguns for size 3. Its range is about on par with the other size 3s, 1,200 meters for range and 1,000 meters a second for speed. It has an ammo count of 160, it says. with 10 pellets per shot. Now, the ammo count is, I didn't actually run out of ammo, I don't think, when I was testing this. It's because it was under the laser category. I don't believe it ran out of plasma. I think it just kept going and going and going. I think it had one of those infinite type of ammos. Unlike the ballistas, which did go down, and I did run out when I was testing it, fighting some PvE guys. Its power to EM is 0.66, temperature and IR is 5.7. So for a size 3, it's actually pretty good on stealth. Not the best, but definitely not the worst. It's pretty good. You can buy this at Area 18, Her L5, Crew L5, and New Babbage for roughly, well, it's either 12,900 Alpha UEC or New Babbage is 13,400 Alpha UEC. Okay, so let's move on from scatterguns. Now let's talk about gimbals. Variput gimbals. They have one manufacturer, and that is Flashfire Systems. So let me read this out. Variput gimbals are fitted for the largest size hardpoint you have available on your ship for the weapon configuration you are changing. For example, the Avenger Titan has 2 size 3 wing hardpoints and 1 size 4 nose hardpoints to mount your weapons on. Right? So let me go over that again. The Avenger Titan, all of them, they have on the wings, those hard points that are on there are size 3 hard points, and the nose is a size 4 hard point. The size of the hard point must match the size of the gimbal. So if you just took the Titan as is with no gimbals, you can mount a size 4 weapon on the nose and 2 size 3 weapons on the wings. But those weapons would fire forward. They will not turn. They will only move when you move the attitude of the ship. So if you turn the ship right, then you can fire to the right. And that's part of the big thing in 310 when they had the weapons convergence happen, and you can, all your weapons converged on the same point in space, making having fixed weapons an actual viable option. And before that, guys, we had it was all about weapon speed. And when you if you had one weapon that was significantly slower than another one, you would have multiple pips going on when you were fighting. And you basically had to pick which pip you wanted to use because each gun had a different speed. And, the pips are calculated based on that. And you didn't have a convergence where all the guns hit at the same point. So you do have that now. So you just have, when you're in lock mode, and you just have one pip, and all the guns, all the bullets basically will hit at that same point, and that's where that pip is calculated, instead of 2 different points because of the speeds. So whenever I'll keep reading the text here. For example, the Avenger Titan can mount 2 size 3 gimbals and 1 size 4 gimbal. So on the Titan, on the wings, you have size 3 hard points on the wings and a size 4 hard point on the nose. You have to match the size of the hard point with the size of the gimbal. So you put a size 3 gimbal on the wings and a size 4 gimbal on the nose. And what a gimbal does, if you don't know, I probably should have started with this, is the gimbal is an automated rotation of the weapon, and it provides kind of an auto aiming functionality to the weapons, as long as in your HUD you have your locking set to automatic or auto. So you basically have 3 different modes. Usually your mode defaults to target mode, and you can tell it's in target mode because on the bottom right side of your HUD it'll say auto or auto lock and target, something like that. But target mode is where when you move your mouse cursor around, the actual big kind of a Maltese cross moves around, and that'll actually move your weapons. If they're on a gimbal, you can manually move your weapons. If you hit G and go to gimbal mode, I think the second one goes to lock. And when you're in lock mode, your reticle stays centered on your HUD, And when you move your mouse around, that's actually showing you the attitude of the ship and how the ship will move and how much you're going to move it. And when you hit G one more time, you get a semicircle dashed lines in the middle of your HUD, and that lets you know that auto aiming is turned on your ship. And what that means is when you get into combat, the gimbals will automatically try to follow the pip. Now you have to be inside that semicircle. The pip has to be inside that semicircle, but the gimbals will automatically track to that pip and fire at that pip. All of them, as long as they can move that far away and have a clear line of sight to that. I mean, there could be, some issues where your ship is so big it can't move that other direction. So once a gimbal is mounted, you must equip a lower size weapon to the gimbal. So for instance, a size 4 gimbal can only mount a size 3 weapon. A size 3 gimbal can only mount a size 2 weapon. The only exception is that a size 1 hardpoint can, in fact, mount a size 1 gimbal and a size 1 weapon. So with gimbals, you are trading in the heavier firepower of the hardpoint for increased accuracy and precision when firing your weapons. A lot of people like that. They don't care that it's, you're losing that size 3 hardpoint, but because you want almost, you want to be able to just kind of point your nose on target and fire, and you're going to hit. So again, I'm going to go over that one more time here. On the Avenger Titan, it has a size 4 hardpoint on the nose. You have to put a size 4 gimbal on there, which turns the hardpoint into a gimbaled size 3, so that you can fit any size 3 gun onto that hardpoint and it'll be gimbaled. It'll move around automatically if you're in auto locking mode. But basically what you do is you're trading a size down, and that's the drawback to going gimbal. The benefit of going gimbal is that you get increased accuracy as long as you're in auto mode and you are you're keeping your target. Basically you try to keep the center of your reticle at that pip, but the small variations, your gimbal should be able to cover that, so you're going to have increased accuracy. So I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, hit me up on Discord or comment in the video below, and I will try to go over some more with you. Okay, let's talk about missile racks. The Marsden missile racks are actually produced by Bearing Applied Technology. The Bearing Marsden missile rack will allow your ship to carry missiles in the unique configuration that you set up. There are many configurations to choose from, but you have to decode the system. You have to break down the 3-number configuration of the missile rack. And we're going to use the example of X, Y, Z, okay? Because all missile racks have 3 numbers, right? So it's going to be an MSD, right? The Marsden. I don't know what the S and the D stand for. We're going to start with that first number, the very first number for the missile racks, the X number. All right, that is the size of the missile rack. This number must correspond to the maximum size hardpoint on the ship it is to be mounted to. For instance, once again, the Avenger Titan. You have to. The Avenger Titan has 2 size 3 missile rack hardpoints, so you can't put a size 2 missile rack onto a size 3 hardpoint. It must be a size 3 missile rack. So that very first number on the left has to be a 3 for the Avenger Titan. There's no other option. It has to be a 3. It also means that the biggest size missile you can put on an Avenger Titan is a size 3 for that hardpoint. You have some ships with different size missile hardpoints. Some of them may have size 4 hardpoints and size 2 hardpoints or something like that. A lot of ships have bespoke missile hardpoints and missile racks where you cannot change any of the missile rack configurations. The only thing you can change is the type of missiles that you fit. Those will be grayed out. You will not be able to change those, but the ones you can change is what we're going over. The second number in the missile rack configuration, the Y, is the number of missiles that will be held in the missile rack that is chosen. So again, Avenger Titan, it has to start with a 3, right? So if you're going to, and really we have to explain the Z before the Y will make sense. Okay. The Z number, it directly relates to the Y. And the Z number, the last number, is the number of missiles that are on a given missile rack. So for example, the Avenger Titan can have 3 different missile configurations. That's it, because that's the only missile racks that are there. So if you want to have size 3 missiles on a Avenger Titan, you need to use an MSD 313. The reason is because, of course, the X, it's a size 3 hardpoint, size 3 missile rack. That holds 1, which is the Y. It holds 1, and then the Z, size 3 missile. So size 3 missile rack, the 3, that holds 1 is the Y, 3, Z, size 3 missiles. So 313. An MSD 322, the next missile rack, is a size 3 missile rack, the X. That's the easy one to explain. But it will hold 2 size 2 missiles. That's the Y and the Z. The 322. So a size 3 missile rack that holds 2, which is the next number, size 2 missiles. And then going down the line is MSD 341. The last one is a size 3 missile rack, the X, that holds 4, the Y number, size 1 missiles. So those always go down. So if it was, say we did have a size 4 hardpoint on the Titan, you would have a 414 missile rack, right? Then you would have a 423 missile rack, because it would be big enough to hold 2 size 3s, and so on and so forth down the line. Eventually, a size 4 missile hardpoint can hold 8 size 1s instead of 4 size 1s. So I hope all that makes sense. It can get a little confusing. Okay, let's move on to the final category of this video, the Star Citizen Weapon Vanguard size 2 guns. These are all made by Bearing. So on the Vanguard series of ships, there are 4 size 2 guns that fit on that ship. It's unique. It's the only ship in the game that has this type of weapon configuration. You can mix and match these weapons as much as you want, but they must be these type of weapons. They are specifically made for the Vanguard line of ships: the Hoplite, the Warden, the Harbinger, and the Sentinel. The first one we're going to go over is the ATVS repeater. Met with an aggressor's electrical system with the ATVS from Bearing. This disruptive, non-lethal distortion repeater is only compatible with the nose mount on the Aegis Vanguard. So this guy is the distortion repeater. Okay. There's also a distortion cannon one. There's a laser repeater, a laser cannon, a ballistic repeater, and a ballistic cannon one. The ATVS size 2 does 325 DPS, 66 alpha damage, and post those are not real because it's distortion. It's a high fire rate of 295. It has a really good range of about 3,000 meters, decent speed at 1,200 meters a second. It is not stealthy. The EM and the IR are very high. 6.4 IR, 5.6 EM. And these I buy my stuff at Port Olisar usually, but these go for 8250 Alpha UEC, Area 18, Port Olisar, Area 18, New Babbage, HER L3. They're kind of all over. The next repeater in the Vanguard size 2 line is the BRVS. Only Vanguard owners can equip this unique version of Bearing's line of ballistic repeaters to the nose of their ship. The BRVS is carefully calibrated so its ballistic barrage would fire fast enough to provide maximum target saturation, while its improved venting reduces frequent overheating. So this is the ballistic repeater. I actually use this all the time on my Vanguard. I mix and match this with a laser repeater. So I usually have 2 ballistic repeaters and 2 laser repeaters when I go with a repeater build. DPS is 295, alpha damage 61. Again, it's a repeater with a high fire rate of 290. Those are actual damage numbers versus the made up ones for the distortion. The range is a little bit less than the Distortion. It's 27 meters. Speed is 1100, so a little bit faster. 1100 meters a second. It has an ammo count of 800, which is actually pretty darn good. It's a good ammo count for a high fire rate. One pellet per shot, only one bullet. It's not particularly stealthy, but it's not unstealthy. Its power to EM is 0.84. Its temperature to IR is 5.6. Now, none of the Vanguards are really designed to be a stealth ship, but if you wanted to make it as stealthy as you could, this would be a good option. It has a really low EM signature, and you can suppress the IR down to at least 4 something. So that's pretty good. These weapons, you can buy them all at the same places as before. PO, Area 18, New Babbage, Hurl 5 for $88.50 off of UBC. Okay, now we're going to talk about the CVSA cannon. Bearing designed the CVSA to be their Vanguard-only ballistic cannon variant. This weapon features a slower rate of fire, delivers a higher velocity round that is ideal for dealing major damage to targets at medium and long ranges. So this is the ballistic cannon part of these weapons. Again, size 2. It does 300 DPS, alpha damage 225, and a fire rate of 80 rounds per minute. Not that impressive to me. What else are you going to put on a Vanguard if you want a ballistic cannon? Its range is 1974 meters, so really not even that good of a range, to be honest with you. I believe the repeater had a higher range. Its speed is 940 meters a second. Again, it's under 1,000. It's just not, I don't know. Don't like it that much. The ammo count, 400 rounds at 1 pellet per shot. It is a little stealthier. The power to EM 0.57, really low. Temperature to IR 4.8, pretty darn low. So if you want a stealthier build with cannons, especially a ballistic, this is something you can go with. You can pick this up. PO, Area 18, New Babbage, Hurl 2 and Hurl 3 for $12,400 alpha UBC. Moving on to the next weapon. This is the EVSD cannon. Disable ships without hurting their crew or cargo with the EVSD from Bearing. This distortion cannon features much of the same industry-leading technology used in other Bearing weapons, but is specifically designed to be mounted on the nose of an Aegis Vanguard. Of course, it can only go on the Aegis Vanguard. This is the distortion cannon. I don't use it, so I have very little experience with it. DPS and alpha damage, I'm not even going to say them because they don't matter. It has fire rate of 88 rounds per minute, so slower because it is a cannon. Has a okay range of 2,100 meters, slow speed of 840 meters a second for a cannon. It has, for a size 2 cannon, that has pretty high IR of 3.9 and a high EM of 2.66. You can buy this guy Area 18, Port All-Star, New Babbage, Hurl 4 for 7,200 alpha UBC. Next weapon is the one that I use all the time, the GVSR laser repeater. Aegis commissioned Bearing to design a laser repeater specifically for their Vanguard lineup. This result was the GVSR, which met Aegis with Aegis exacting standards by delivering a steady rate of fire without overtaxing the ship's power plant. So this size 2 laser repeater does 284 DPS, 55 alpha damage, fire rate of 310 RPM. Now remember, you're going to have 4 of these on your if you do all 4 GVSRs. So I mean, take all this DPS and alpha and times it by 4. Plus, on a Vanguard, you're also going to have a size 4 or a size 5 hardpoint. Stock is a Gimbals size 4 on there, so it's going to have quite a bit of firepower on the Vanguard. Its range is 2412, so one of the better ranges for these size 2 guns. A speed of 1,005 meters a second. That's pellets per shot is 1, of course. It's a laser, infinite ammo. Its power to EM is 2.1, but it has actually a pretty darn high IR signature at 7. So together, 9.1. It's not a stealthy weapon because it probably gets really hot because it's a laser. I do recommend this for the Vanguard along with the BVRS ballistic repeater. You can buy this guy at Port Olisar, Area 18, New Babbage, Hurl 3, and Crew L5 for 6,500 Alpha UBC, also one of the cheaper ones. And this moves us down to the last of the Vanguard Size 2 guns, the MVSA cannon. The classic M4A has been specially retooled by Bearing to create the VS, Vanguard Special. A laser weapon designed to meet the Aegis unique requirements. The default nose-mounted weapon on the Vanguard Warden, the MVSA can only be loaded onto other Vanguard variants. So, one, you cannot buy this weapon. I tried. I looked around. You can't buy an MVSA. The only way you can get an MVSA is if you have a Vanguard Warden, which is awesome because that's my favorite Vanguard. But that's it. You have to have a Vanguard Warden to get this, to get the laser cannon. And you know what I do? I take them all off because I don't like them. I put on repeaters. Anyway, let's go over the stats. The DPS is 229. Alpha is 183. Fire rate is 75. Pretty slow for a laser. The range is pretty good at 2,000 meters. The speed is okay, just under 1,100 meters. The power to EM is fairly low at 1.43, but not real low. The temperature to IR is pretty hot at 6, so not particularly stealthy. Yeah, I usually take these guys off, and then I could then load them onto other Vanguard series, but you can't buy them anywhere. You have to get them from a Warden, and then if you want to use them on like a Sentinel or a Harbinger, you'd have to take them off of the Warden and put it on the other ship. Okay. So here's the last slide here, guys. This is basically my takeaways and recommendations for this video. I know we're almost done. It's almost 45 minutes in. The main differences here of what I see. Laser scatterguns. Now, I put pluses and minuses on here if you can see it. A big plus on laser scatterguns is infinite ammunition. That's awesome. That's with any laser. I put a significant negative is that it has a fairly low fire rate. It has 2 pluses, or I guess I can say 2 stars for it's a good stealth weapon. However, with a scattergun, stealth is negated by a requirement for scatterguns to have very close range fighting. So really, who necessarily cares about stealth unless it's that very first joust where you're just starting to you're coming at them at a very high speed and you're just getting a couple shots on them. Other than that, they know you're there. Stealth is, you're not shooting them from far away like you would normally do with stealth. So good stealth weapon, but it's negated because you need to be close to actually get good hits. It has 2 stars for high alpha damage and DPS, but it has -3 stars for a low effective range because you have to be so close. The plasma scattergun. I put this under laser because that's where it falls in the DPS calculator. It is statistically inferior to both the laser and the ballistic scatterguns. That's a -4 stars. The plasma scattergun, just on the stats for the weapon, should be better to me than the ballistic or the laser, but it's not. It's inferior to both. The only plus that it has is that it's the cheapest scattergun you could buy for a size 3. It's cheaper than other size 3 scatterguns. That gives it a 1 star. Obviously, it's a cool weapon. I don't recommend it. The ballistic scattergun. They have finite ammunition, so that's -2 stars. They also have a low fire rate, which is -1 star, but it's better than the laser scatterguns. So they do fire faster than the laser scatterguns, but they also have finite ammunition, which means, 1, maybe 2 battles, you're going to have to go reload. It is a very good stealth weapon. It's better than the laser. So that would probably give it 3 stars, but stealth, again, is negated by the requirement for very close range fighting. So that is -2 stars. It has very high alpha damage and DPS, giving it an extra star above the laser, so it's 3 stars. but it has a low effective range, which is -2 stars, but it's a better effective range than the laser. So basically, the Ballistic Scattergun is better than the laser in everything except it has finite ammunition. The Distortion Scattergun. They only have don't read the screen. It only has size 4 and size 5 guns available for in-game use. I accidentally put 3 and 4. That is a -1 star. It does have infinite ammunition, so +3 stars. It doesn't currently disable ships, so -4 stars. Very high distortion damage to take down shields and systems. That's awesome if that's what your goal is. So that's +3 stars. But it also has a very low effective range, so -3 stars. So let's move on to Vanguard size 2 guns. I really don't have a ranking of these weapons. They are the only choices that can be put on a Vanguard because of its unique design. And they can only go on a Vanguard. The choice of weapon really comes down to personal preference. Do you like cannons? Then put on cannons. Do you like repeaters? Put on repeaters. Do you like laser, ballistic, or distortion damage? The choice is yours. Or you can mix and match to balance the loadout. You can have a ballistic, like you could have 2 ballistics on there, a laser repeater, and a distortion repeater. You can have all 4 of those on there. Mix and match those 4 until your heart's content. So for 313.0, Fist-25's favorites and recommendations for the scatterguns, I would say go with ballistic scatterguns for the better damage and range. Just realize you got 1, maybe 2 fights in you before you got to reload, especially if there's a bunch of ships you're fighting. For the Vanguard size 2 guns, I prefer 2 GVSR repeaters, which are the laser repeaters, and 2 BVRS ballistic repeaters. Together, I think it's a really good balance of laser and ballistic. Also, if you've watched my Vanguard videos, I usually go with a hard-pointed size 5 because these Vanguard size 2 guns, you cannot gimbal them. They are fixed forward. So you might as well fix your big forward gun. And I usually either put on an attrition 5 or some kind of a deadbolt series or just, a bigger gun. I might even put it on a C788, which is a size 4, and just keep it mounted forward. So thanks, guys. Thanks for watching the Scatterguns, Gimbals, Missile Racks, and Vanguard size 2 guns video. I know it's probably a little boring, not the best one, but I felt like I had to go through it. The episode 4 video, which I'm going to probably start working on here in the next few days, is going to be on missiles themselves. Missiles, rockets, which is not much, and the tachyon cannon, which doesn't exist anymore, but we'll touch on that. But really, episode 4 is going to be about missiles and the different missiles, the cross sections, the infrareds, the EM missiles, the different sizes, all that stuff. So it kind of ties into this video, at least for the missile rack portion of it. Episode 5 is going to start delving into FPS weapons. We're going to go under FPS long guns in episode 5, so that'll be a big episode. Episode 6 will be FPS sidearms and auxiliary tools. And episode 7 is going to go over ground vehicle weapons. So I might even have to split that one up because there's a lot of weapons for ground vehicles. So thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't already, please pop down and right below, and there's a little like and subscribe section there. It's free. If you could just hit that subscribe button, that would help us out immensely. If you don't like our content, then I'm sorry. If you could throw in a comment and be like, hey, Fist, you could do so much better of a job if you did this. And, I will take the criticism to heart unless it's just mean. But, it is what it is. It's the internet, I guess. But I really do want to thank you guys for watching. Hey, check out fistandjawa.org, our website. We have links to all of our stuff. We have a merchandise store on there. We now have Patreon. So if you're interested in becoming a patron, we're going to start doing special stuff. Patrons are now going to get early access to like our bigger videos. They're going to get special link in Patreon that they'll be able to view those videos in 1080p while they're rendering in 2K. So they'll be able to see it before anybody else, along with some other goodies. Once we get enough patrons, then we'll actually do patron-only streams, and patrons will start to drive the type of content that Jawa and I create. And also keep a lookout for Jawa's next series. I know he's working real hard on the Hurston system of Taurus Stanton. And then he's gonna get into the Rock DS a little bit, you know, because he's a miner and he likes that stuff. And then I think he's gonna start getting into he's gonna do some vehicle reviews, like on the Tumbrils and those type of vehicles. So he's gonna be doing reviews too. So thanks for watching, guys. We live stream every Thursday. Check out the website. Thanks for watching, and as always, good night, Stan.